Hi there, I'm Heather from Upcycled Vintage Art, and this is my lunchtime live painting that I've been doing on Wednesdays and Fridays, Toronto time, around noon. It's a nice way of me working on studies and sketches for my my upcycled paintings, and kind of moving forward in projects, especially when I don't have a lot of time to paint. This is kind of a nice way of keeping practiced and yeah, kind of working on things. So anyway, that's what the time is for. Yeah, it's kind of like a look over my shoulder while I'm working sort of time. So yeah. So anyway, I used to watch my instructors paint at school, and we would just all crowd around and watch over their shoulder. And so this is a bit less of a, I'm not really teaching, but I know some people watch, and you do learn a lot by watching somebody else paint and their mistakes and along the way, and technique and stuff. So anyway, so for those of you who are watching to learn a bit how to paint or some of my techniques, feel free to ask questions, but I am painting, so I'm not looking at comments along the way. I'm not really, I can't see it on my phone or on the laptop. So if I don't answer your question right away, or if you have something you want to specifically ask, just drop me a note, and I'll get back to you after. So just adding a few colors to the palette. So I did promise I'm painting baby Ewoks today. So I don't need that many colors for this, because these are, again, they're studies, and it's going to be a bit of fun. But feels like a nice, I'm well into my Ewoks and my altered painting I'm working on, and it feels like a nice kind of mid-project reward to be able to paint some baby Ewoks. So we'll give this a go. I'm going to shrink my face because you don't really need to see that. Up to the corner. There we go. Up there. All right. So if you've been following along, you would know that I've been working in an old sketch, well, not sketchbook. It's an old like scrapbook, like a vintage one. It had tissue in between the pages for photos, and it's got rough bits from where they took the photos out. But it's lovely, thick, heavy paper, and kind of fun for sketches. It kind of adds a bit of a roughness and rusticness to the studies that I've already done. So I've done a few adult Ewoks to practice, to decide which ones I wanted to work on for the painting that's on my other desk, and a couple practices of the Millennium Falcon. I think I've got a couple more at the back. Let me just take a look. Oh, and painting the moon of Endor and the planet Endor. There we go. So I've done a few, and I have a few little extra pages in the middle of the book here. So this is just finding a blank page to work on today. And I'm going to put something down because this sort of book wants to pop up. So the tissue box is going to double duty it, and going to hold the page down for me. I don't actually know if it will. It's a bit empty. Paint. Let's use the paint. Nope. I need something heavy. A jar of rocks and sand. There we go. That'll do it. There we go. And have I got paint on myself? No. Okay, so I've got some reference material that I'm going to work from here. So I might have time to paint a couple of these. So anyway, these colors that I picked, in particular burnt umber and phthalo blue, are best friends. They are great at making dark blacks, nice grayish, not grayish, but mid-tones that are either warm or cool. They make some interesting shades. So they're the best friends. These two here work well together. I use the white for highlights, and then the other colors are just to help bring out the different tones as I go. So anyway, I'm going to get into it. So I've noticed that nobody has said anything negative about the Ewoks. So this one's going to be the study I'm going to do first. It's going to be, I found a photo of a mama Ewok and a baby. So I just thought I'll do a little one of the two of them first, and then there's a cute little scene with lots of Ewok babies all together. So I'll do that afterwards, but I just want to practice first with this one here. So I'm gonna go add in Mama Ewok, and I've got a bit too much of this dark color in my brush, so I'm just going to brush it off as I'm going. I'm not going to worry about the nice thing about studies is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just meant to be a bit of fun, and meant to be a way of studying form and shape and color and texture without the pressure of it being a finished painting. So I work dark to light with thin paint and build up to thicker paint as I go. So I will be using that technique here too. So if you're wondering why it's all so dark, that's why. Let me just make sure everything's going. It's going all right. Looks like it's okay over there. My husband suggested I try this new software so that I could stream to more than one platform at a time. So that seems to be going all right. But again, it's just me doing all this, and I don't really have the time or resources to properly keep an eye. I like to have someone help me at the moment to keep an eye on people's comments or, you know, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, just drop me a note after if you've got any questions as I'm working. So that's a good start. This blob is a baby Ewok, so if you can't tell already. So let's see. I'm just gonna add a couple more darks in now that I've kind of got a general idea of where things are gonna go, just to help define where things are gonna be. That looks more like a promise of a baby Ewok, doesn't it? That's the outline of its body. Now, if you see me squinting, in that top corner there, if you see me suddenly doing that, it's not that I can't see what I'm doing. I'm not squinting so that I can see. I'm actually squinting so that I can't see. I'm squinting so that I don't notice the depth, the details, and I can see whether I've added enough, made it dark or light enough, and the contrast is enough that I'm happy with the shape. And high contrast. So if you squint at something, you notice you lose all the details, but you can still see the lights and dark. So that's what I'm doing. My eyes are fine. So yeah. Anyway, I just want to get a couple of these. Oh, that is way too blue. A couple of these darks in here. So just so I kind of know what I want to do here. It looks like a panda at the moment with the darks like that, and that's face. But yeah. So this is just kind of giving a rough idea of where things are going to be, and then I'm going to fix it with the lighter tones in a moment, or adjust it and pull it back out. So again, the reason I do this, and you don't hear a lot of swishing going on with water, is I don't really like, I don't want to rinse all this acrylic, any paint down the drain if I can avoid it. So I brush the brush off the background, which adds some interesting texture and movement to the back, but it also keeps it out of my water tub and stuff. So that's what's going on there when you see me doing that. So this particular Ewok, she's kind of a warm blondish tone, and I did not put any of that color out. Let me just grab a yellow oxide. Am I on the new bottle? I think I am. Or is it behind me? Nope, it's not. Okay, new bottle of yellow oxide. Just to kind of, just because that this raw sienna here isn't quite yellow enough for the tone that I want. Okay, there we go. So I'm mixing that's the color I want. Mixing a tone here just to kind of get the feel of the color of the fur. So I'm not going to paint every single hair, but I just want to get a feel for what colors they are and where it is. And yeah, that's the nice thing about studies, is you don't need to make it absolutely perfect. Oh, like that. Her ear's a bit floppy now. So going back to the beginning, Ewoks. I think it's they're one of those characters from George Lucas's vision that I think people either love them or hate them. When I told my husband I was doing Ewoks, he's like, why? Why are you doing Ewoks? But I love them. I thought they were adorable and they were fun, and we watched the Ewoks cartoon as kids, and I loved that too. And so it's it's really fun just having the time to work on this one, and the commission that I'm doing for someone with request for Ewoks and the moon of Endor. I think that's pretty fun, so I am enjoying myself. And anyone doesn't like Ewoks, that's opinion is completely up to you, but your life is a little less joyful because it doesn't have Ewoks in it. So anyway, that reminds me of I've seen some videos of, it reminds me of stuffies, like, you know, the giant like teddies and stuff like that, teddy bears and the giant ones that you can get. And I've seen some adorable videos of elderly people being gifted giant stuffies and just enjoying them, because like as you get older, some people revert more to their childhood memories and feelings, and even especially with dementia that can happen. And I just think it's absolutely delightful how I just love the thought of being in my 90s and having a giant stuffy and just loving it. And just there's something comforting about giving you know, teddy bear a big hug. And I think that's probably where some of the appeal for the Ewoks is. It was that it's too light. So I have flipped to a small brush, probably a little too soon, because what it's doing is it's making me paint in a much tighter way. So you end up losing some of the looseness of it as you're going, but that's okay. I just have to kind of, this is just going to be a bit more of a struggle, this one, because I have done that. And that's exactly why I do these studies, because sometimes you sit down to paint and you're like, oh, I'm not sure I'm happy with how this is going, and you just keep going and see if you can, the challenge is to see, can I save it? Can I bring it back out? And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. But the important thing is you keep going and give yourself a chance to fix it. And in that process, you learn so much. And then next time you paint it, it's often much better. So I don't want to be gloomy before I've got very far on this. I'm not giving up on it yet. I'm just what I've done by going to a small brush too soon and not establishing enough of the shapes first is I've tightened up, and then it just makes it a little bit harder because I've got to go back in and do it after. So I know I'm painting a lot of the Ewok Mama, but I feel like I just want to warm up with her first, with getting her on here first. And so this is what I mean. I went to small brush and too much detail first, and what I really wanted was to connect these shadows to her cloak here, and that would have helped a bit more. And once again, there's too much blue. Draw that shadow in there a little bit. So she's kind of tucked in a corner somewhere, so she's coming out of the shadows and the reference that I've got. That's better. And her ears are too big, so what I'm going to do is I just want to adjust it. I just want to fix it a little bit. So I'm just going to pull it in a little bit here from the outside, the darker color. And I'm just going to go with it, but she's a bit more in the shadows, and I'm going to make it a bit more blue, just a little tiny bit, just to kind of separate it from her hood. There we go, that's better. Now because I felt like I was feeling distracted by her shape and her face and her giant ears and that floppy bit that I painted that wasn't quite right. So there we go. Working these shapes in together in the, because she's not the main part of the story, is she? It's the baby Ewok that we're wanting to see. But she kind of frames him. She's kind of his support system, so she needs to be there. And So I want to make sure she's right, because then when I get to him, I've warmed up by painting her first. And yeah. Whoops, that is too much blue again. And I'm not going to paint her whole arm, but I'm going to give a little bit of a hint of where it is at the moment. And there's a bit more fabric here. I think she must have a blanket or something for him. I think that's what this is. But I'm just going to do just a bit of a rough, just a little nod to whatever is in the foreground here. I think it's a blanket. It could be a little bit of her. Oh, there's another Ewok there. I'm not going to add anyone else in. Just, there we go. Okay, so I've got how she's connected to him. So now I'm not gonna make the same mistake and go too small, too quick. I'm going to get a bit more. I need a bit more burnt umber. Make sure it's still working. It is. Also with the painting, like I'm enjoying this. I'm feeling a little foggy today. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but so it kind of makes me feel like I'm not giving this my full concentration, but I think it's good sometimes when you have days like this just to not worry about that and just to push through and to just get some paint on the paper and just see how it goes. So now her fur and his fur, there's a point where it blends together and I can see her fingers there holding him. So I'm just gonna soften this baby Ewok a little bit before I switch over to the small brush to finish, just to add a few more details in. So I'm just, as I mentioned before, I'm squinting at it to see where the shadows are and get them in the right places. And then when I add the extra details in, I don't need to add that much. I had one of, I don't know what the word for it is, but in uni we did life drawing. Like every Wednesday was a life drawing session, and we always had different models in. And one of our models, like over the course of the 3 years, she was pregnant, and so we got to draw her when she, you know, before then, and then when she was very pregnant was really interesting to draw her. And then after she had her baby, she brought her baby in, and which was really lovely because we got to do the life drawing of both of them. And babies are really challenging because they're always moving. And her baby was really little, like I think probably 8 weeks old. And so we had some lovely moments painting her and her baby when they were, I think her baby was asleep for a little bit of it, but also nursing. And it was interesting hearing about how like the instructor was just talking about, you know, the human body and the structure of a human body. But when you see babies, they have very small chins, and their cranium up there is just a lot bigger and stuff. But just was interesting that their chins are small on purpose so that they can nurse, so like they can get in there and nurse. So it's like, but it's funny, these little things you think, oh, that's a baby, that's what a baby looks like, but you don't think that very well engineered to, that's why they're engineered like that. That's why they were made like that. So, so I'm keeping that in mind, and I think when they made these baby Ewoks, they had that recipe in mind, that, you know, people babies are like this. So they've done the baby Ewok with this little chin, and yeah. But babies are hard to paint. Babies are hard to, I mean, for one thing, they don't sit still. But the risk is overworking the picture, because, or overworking them and making them look old, much older than they actually are. So, so that's what the challenge is going to be for me right now, is to not do too much. I just looked over and I'm like, got this scary Ewok mama. Let's just fix her eyes here. I didn't realize you guys are looking at super scary Ewok mama. To me, I'm just kind of, my paintbrush is traveling around and I'm not really totally paying attention to it, but here we go. Just soften her up a little bit because her eyes looked very skeletal from in the computer there. I just looked over. There we go. That's a bit softer, isn't it? And let's just, she's really adorable. Let's just give her her, I was not even thinking that she might look kind of creepy, but she does without her nose and her eyes and her mouth. She just looks like a skeleton, like she's got like eye sockets and stuff. So let me just quickly put just a little nod to her nose and her eyes and her mouth here. She's got really full lips, and she's got really adorable teeth. So let's go for that. Let's get those in there, and then I'll take care of the baby. Sorry, I didn't realize we had skeleton face Ewok going on there for a little bit. Those are too bright. That's all right. Let's darken it up a little bit. She has like enormous, really enormous cute teeth. Okay. And I'm just gonna add her nostrils in there. Just to kind of knock it back just a little bit. All right. Hands are getting a bit paint on them. Okay, so let's this is how I paint it. I work on whatever's bothering me the most. And right now, her face is bothering me, and I kind of want to feel good about her face before I move on to the baby. So let me just put a couple more highlights in. Her little Ewok mustache there. And same thing over here. So if you've just joined in, I'm working on a new upcycled painting featuring the moon of Endor with some Ewoks, and so I've been doing some studies along the way, just to warm up and just to enjoy painting Ewoks, basically. I just wanted to make sure I did a good job on the upcycled painting. So I'm practicing basically, and these live times are kind of it forces me to stop whatever I'm doing and just sit down, have a practice, and not worry about how it turns out. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop me a note, because I'm painting and I can't see any comments or questions right now. So my apologies. Yeah, so anyway. And as promised, I'm painting baby Ewoks, but this first reference photo is an Ewok and his mum, and she needs to look right before I can move on to the baby. So I just want to quickly add a couple little highlights in and get her looking a little bit better. I'm already much happier with her expression, and she's got quite cute disheveled fur. Yeah, but I'm already much happier with this. So what I really like about this reference is that her fur actually covers her eyes, so I would like to do that. So I'm just gonna, I like the fact that she's kind of like not really fully seeing what's going on because she's got so much fur, but that's a bit better. I like the idea of her being a little disheveled, because it can sometimes feel like a bit like that when you're a mom. feel a little disheveled. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop this in a moment because I'm starting to get too tight and too detailed, and I don't want to get too much in there. I still feel like her there's bits that are just bothering me, but I'm just reminding myself this is a study. So let's just get this little guy underway. It's probably a bit too bright. He's a nice soft color, but I don't want to go too bright too fast. I want to save some of those light colors for when I do the last highlights. So if I jump too quickly into the light colors, it's gonna be a little bit hard to it's just too, yeah, you're not gonna have as much texture built up quite so nicely. So, trick with painting babies is you don't want to overwork them, because then they will start to look like old people. If you've ever seen medieval art, I'm sure you could, those portrayals of Mary and Jesus, and Jesus looks like an old man instead of a little baby. It's like they've just made a small man in baby clothes, and it's like, that does not look like a baby. So, but that's the yeah. So when you're painting or drawing babies, the trick is you don't want to overwork it. Less detail is better, even if because some babies do have like a little wrinkle under their eye or really small or whatever, but as soon as you do that too much detail on that, it starts to look kind of creepy. So it takes a bit of practice, and which is what I'm doing right now, to not accidentally make them look into creepy little tiny old men. So this little baby Ewok has like a little mustache that matches his mama's mustache. I just glanced over at the mother again and noticed that everything has got the same tone and the highlights have been lost, whereas you can see I built it up a little bit more slowly with him, and the highlights stand out a little bit easier. So I'm going to need to bring some white in just to kind of balance it out a little bit for her. And he's got the tops of his ears are like adorable. They're a little bit fleshy, like they haven't got the same sort of fuzz on it that the mama does. Okay, so I'm just going to go for a little bit of a darker. I don't actually want to paint like every single part of this baby Ewok because it's just a study, and I don't want to spend that much time on it. I want to work on the other picture, the group of all the baby Ewoks, but I want to just get this to the point that it's finished. Like, that's the idea of studies, is you give yourself a limited amount of time, and then you stop, and then that's it. So I think it's kind of sweet that they both have kind of warm colored fingers. He's got a bit of warmth here in his ear where the sun is coming, not the sun, the light is kind of shining through the skin on his ear. And all the people are like this too. We've got veins and blood flowing through our ears, so when the light shines through it, they look a little bit warmer in places. Not the whole way around your ear, but in some places they do. So it's a way of making it look more lifelike. Now her eyelids, I had painted them too bright before, so I'm knocking them back a little bit. I've kind of diverted a bit from the photo I was working from, in that I've made her eyes more open in my study here, but that's all right. Let's give the nose a little bit smaller nostrils for her, and a cute little mouth, and her bottom lip is a little bit closed too. That's a little bit better. All right. Just a highlight here from the hood, goes over the top of her head. And so, let's see, a bit of fur on her front arm. Just a couple little details to stuff, just to tie the two things together. And you can see I'm just kind of scribbling on the paint. I'm not trying to make this perfect. I'm just trying to connect the two just a little bit. But see, important parts of their faces, but you also don't want to be distracted by a big blob where the hand should be and there's just nothing there. Our life drawing instructors used to accuse us of that, because there's a lot of young ones in the life drawing class, and if ever anyone painted the life drawing model and left a big blank place where body parts were, we would get called out. And like, what are you doing? Where did that go? So yeah, and you don't want to, and it was usually because either someone was embarrassed to paint something, or like they would skip things like the hands. They would kind of, it's easy to kind of draw most of it and avoid the face or avoid the hands. And you say, don't avoid anything when you're painting it. So nothing like having somebody call you out on your drawings to force you to learn how to do something. Okay, so I mentioned before I went too light too quickly with her and I lost some of the depth, like it's too much the same. So I'm just going to bring in a bit of this white again, just to pull out just a few highlights, just to soften her look a little bit, and then I'm going to flip the page because I want to work on some more baby Ewoks, and I've got time. And I'm jumping around, so this isn't good. I'm not concentrating properly on what I'm doing. So she's got some fluff. I like it that her hair is so scruffy. Okay. So if you have any questions while I'm working, please feel free to drop me a note, because I'm not seeing any of them right now. And make sure this is still working. Yeah, it's still on. And I'm going to do her cute little whiskers. Whiskers is a nicer name than mustache, isn't it? We don't usually like to have it referred to as mustache, but it kind of is. A little girly mustache. Here we go. So she's a little fluffy right here and here. Not a whole lot, and to balance it out, she needs a little, I think she needs a little bit of a sparkle to kind of pull her eyes out. And a little bit on her chunky teeth. And top of her ears, where the light's hitting it, just to kind of bring it back. And now that she's got all those lovely brights, we need to do the same thing on baby here. But again, not much and not everywhere, because otherwise it will overpower and it will stop looking like a baby. Now, the next picture I have that I want to work from, there are no adults in it, so I can just launch right in, which is nice, but this has been fun, this little one. So I think mama and baby should have matching little twinkle in their eye. And a little bit of a highlight on the top of the nose. Maybe a little bit on her lip. And baby needs a little highlight on his lip, her lip. A little bit around the chin. Okay, let's see, what I just did there is I lost some of the texture because I was starting to play with it. I was daydreaming and then I forgot what I was doing and was painting, and I should have just been more like there, thinking about what I'm doing. So I'm just going to add a couple little lighter highlights here, just on the top of her arm, just to finish it off, and I think we will leave it there because I will continue to play and I will mess it up some more. So let's just move on. Oh, no, we're not, because he needs just a little bit above his eyebrow just to pull, to be able to focus on his face a little bit more. And a little bit of warm fur right here under on his cheekbones. And a tiny little bit more pink on his nose. There we go. Okay, that is good enough for my first baby Ewok. See, this is what I do. I put one more bit of paint down and it's not quite right. His eyes look a bit too big. Let me just quickly shrink him a bit. I keep looking up and down and changing my mind about things. So let's just bring those eyes in a little tiny bit. That's a bit better. Okay, that's all right for the first one. And I'm gonna do one more with a few babies in it. Just while it's drying, let me just quickly get this extra paint off my brush. Okay. Let's see if I can find it. Babies. There it is. These guys, so cute. So I just want to do a little quick, well, when I say quick, it'll take me as long as it takes me. So I'm going to do a study of those guys too. Let me just move this one, this shaggy faced mama, and let's see, I might do this one sideways. A little bit more room. I don't want to squash this against here. I made the mistake of doing this the other day, and the paint, let's take this out. The paint stuck. I lost some of the pictures, so I'm just going to put a bit of that there and gently hold the page open for myself. And move that over. And I'm going to have this petite going. Sorry if you can hear my swallowing. There we go. Okay. Hydrated, ready to go. And I've got enough paint. So might as well just go for it with all of them, right? I'm just going to do all 4 Ewoks. Oh my goodness, they're so fluffy I could die. Okay. So we got one here. We got another one over here. And he's got a fluffy tummy. He's got his hands here. So as you can see, I'm just kind of just painting rough shapes and blobs in, but I'm getting the feel for where they are. And oh my goodness, they are just so cute. Honestly. How can you not love the Ewoks? So the reference I've got is a little bit cut off, so I can't really do their whole bodies. So I'm really just gonna concentrate on their faces and not worry. For them, this looks like babies, doesn't it? Nice blobs. Yeah, so I'm just gonna concentrate on their faces. Ooh, this one baby in the end is super, super creepy because it doesn't have, you can't see the sparkle in his eye, and he just looks like an eyeless puppet. So I'm going to give him eyes. I'm not going to do that to you. A creepy one. No one wants that. We don't want creepy babies. Okay. Soften that a little bit. Give me the freedom to work in that space and not feel like I'm ruining the paper. Okay. Let me clean off that brush. I'm going to switch to a slightly smaller brush. So I'm going to try and be as deliberate as I can about where I'm putting these brush strokes, because I want to paint less and say more with what I'm doing. So, and this brush might be a little bit too big. I've gone too light again, so let's just work from one to the other. Got a baby here. Some fluff coming down his face. Just kind of focusing on where the eyes are and just getting a little bit of a hint of where they are. He's got a very cute little nose. And that's probably a bit too much there. That's all right. I've got his fingers. He's got a little bit of fluff here and his other finger here. Just the littlest hint of it. And then we have another little baby here. And his coloring is more on the lower part of his face with just a little bit above his eyes. So we're going to get that going there. A little bit of a hint of his ears. He's got some cute little fingers here too, going different directions depending on which way his hands are going. And a bit of warmer fur here. Then we have one over here. His fur comes out the side more. He has some very, very full lips. I think because, yeah, he's got very full lips. He's going to be funny. He needs some more darks on him to get him just right, but I'm just going to add a little bit of that there to give him a bit of fluff. And these babies are all different sizes in relation to each other, so I'm aware that they're not. Some of them are smaller than others. And this creepy guy over here has a much warmer, he has warm fur everywhere. Like he's not as multicolored as the other Ewoks babies are. He's a lighter colored fur. And he's just sitting in a big blob. I don't know what they were thinking. So I'm just gonna do just a little bit of where he is, but not really focus on him too much, because he's not in the middle of the picture. He's gonna be off to the side. He's just so creepy. Okay. Let's see if I can wipe this off. So I'm trying to go quickly here because I'm aware that I've been painting for a while already, and let's see. 030. Let's use this one. All right, let's work from dark to light and go from the most important bits out, because with babies, again, we don't want to paint too much, because it will, the more you paint on them, the worse they look, because they just get overworked. So the most important part about this is going to be their eyes. And their eyes are really big. They're just so big, and they're adorable and super cute. So let's get the eyes in, so we can picture what these babies are. And in relation to the eyes, we've got their little noses, right? So that's probably a good thing to do at the same time. That's their nostrils because they're similar amount of dark paint, and helps with the placement of everything else, knowing where their little noses are. Okay, and this guy, I can't even see where the eyes are on this one, but I'm gonna decide. Okay, the next thing that's important for the baby Ewoks is their little lips. So these puppets didn't have moving mouths, so they were just kind of stuck on little plasticky, whatever, resin lips. This guy's got the most little pooky lips, doesn't he? So when you paint lips, you don't have to paint both lips. You can just paint the top lip. Always has usually has a shadow on it. So the most important thing is to get that top lip the right shape and a shadow under where the bottom lip is, and then you can actually just leave it if you want to. You don't actually have to do it. So I have a bit of extra of this dark paint on my brush, and I'm going to use it to pull in some of the shadows where I want to darken it up a bit more. So before I focus on fur, on where adding the fur in to really finish them off and to make them into little fluff balls, I want to make sure all the darks in the right spot. I'm aware they look really creepy right now. It's just all these darks and stuff, but that's the, you've got to kind of ignore how it looks right now and know that this is what I have to do. I have to ignore how it looks and set myself up for how it's going to look. Let's see. Little baby Ewok fingers. A little smaller than that. That's better. Okay. So if you've been following along on my Instagram, you'll notice that I've been channel flipping, and that's kind of my normal way of working. Right out of college, I worked for a greeting card company, and we would be painting Valentine's cards at Halloween and Christmas cards at Easter. So I'm kind of used to having to kind of channel flip. I'm aware that it might be a little difficult for everybody to be in the mood for one thing and then suddenly I'm talking or painting about another, but that's also why these studies are helpful for me, because it helps me be able to channel flip and be able to give something my attention, the feeling behind it, the joy of Ewoks. Well, the next day I might be painting Ents or Alice in Wonderland flowers or whatever. So yeah, so anyway, I'm aware I'm channel flipping a little bit. So, but the point of me saying that is I am going to be doing some more May the 4th inspired art very soon. I've booked off some time. I kind of plan my painting schedule through the year and different times a year for painting certain things. And May the 4th is one of my favorite times of year to kind of paint things to celebrate Star Wars. So I am going to be painting more Star Wars inspired art towards the end of March, maybe even earlier, depending on how I go. Because at the moment I'm working on some Middle Earth inspired pieces, and I've set aside time to do that. But this commission, I've been working on this on and off for since May, May, June, something like that. Like sometimes these things take a long time to collect the research and to think about them, and I had other commitments on too, so it wasn't wasn't ready to launch into it right at that time. But anyway, sometimes these things take a little while. So, but this one I've been working on for a while, so I would have normally waited until March to start working on this, but this is the commission, so it's a special one, and so it gets to jump the queue because the lady has been waiting, like who commissioned it, has been very, very patient with me, and so I want to finish this one up for her ahead of my May the 4th art drop. So prints were going to be available of this one and digitals with or of the finished one that I'm working on with Ewoks and the planet moon of Endor. Yeah, so I'll share some sneak peeks of that soon, but this is yeah, anyway, that's what's going on behind the scenes there. And I hear that Ben's down for lunch. You can make noise if you want to. I'm just chatting while I'm working.
Coffee machine's fine?
Yes, coffee machine's going on right now, so that's fine. Yeah, go for it.
I see you live on YouTube, but not Instagram.
Oh, really? Instagram, it seems like it's still going. Oh, well. It shows up there afterwards, so maybe it's never been going live on Instagram.
No problem.
So I just realized I've completely zoned out here while I've been painting. And as you can see, I kind of hop back and forth between what I'm working on, but yeah, got a little bit lost in this guy's face while I was thinking about how I wanted to paint it. And my husband's making coffee, so I'm just going to paint a little bit while that's going on. Might be a little hard to hear me. You done with the coffee there? Are you?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm sorry, that was very loud.
No, that's all right. So, so my husband's done making coffee. So I've just concentrated on one at the moment, and this is a good example of don't want to go do too much because it'll start to look overworked. All right, see you later. You guys are getting the full visiting me in the studio experience. This is what my day's like. Usually I have a lot of in and out visitors and interruptions. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm just adding a few little fuzzies just to soften it up. in places because I like how I've got around his eyes and stuff, but I just want to knock it back just a little bit. He's super fluffy, very cute. But I don't want to overwork it, so I'm just going to bring this warm color in just a little bit. That's a bit better. And just a little bit where his fur comes out of his arms, just to soften it up a little bit. There we go. And he's got some fur coming down his tummy too. So I am not going to paint his entire body. I'm just going to give a feeling for where he is. And yeah. Sorry, it's hard to bounce back from knowing that my live is not working on Instagram to keep going, but it's not worried about that. The point of this is actually for me to have a bit of time to paint and get a little bit done. So I'm just going to focus on that. Sometimes with being an artist with social media, you can feel so much pressure just to keep filming or keep recording everything, and then when you don't, you feel like, oh no, I've missed this opportunity. But I'm always kind of blown away when I go to shows and someone wants to buy my art and they haven't seen me paint it. You kind of forget that it's just a new thing. Not everyone is, we didn't used to do that. We used to just make art by ourselves and then come to bring them to shows and people would like the thing that we'd made, whereas now we've got it's a bit different because there's a bit of an expectation to share the process and all that. So I've got to learn at the same time as painting, got to think about the software working over there and how we share that. That's enough on this guy. I'm gonna end up accidentally overworking him while I'm chatting. Just gonna move on to this little guy up here because he's next up. So he's a little bit more in shadow, but I'd like to just gonna bring him out. I quite like his he's got the darkest eyes. He just has this puppy dog sort of look to him, and his hair is particularly scruffy. He's got the cutest little eyelid that's really quite pronounced against his dark fur. He's got really cute whiskers that kind of start above his nose. His eyes, so funny, this look under his eye, this eyelid makes him look a little bit extra kind of tired. He's got his upper eyelid back on there a little bit. There we go. Oops, I lost a bit of his eye there. We'll fix that in a minute. Okay. I'm just kind of gently adding a little bit of where his nose is. I don't want to do too much though because it's quite in the shadow in this one. And his bottom lip is quite little, so I'm going to move that highlight up a bit higher. And his lips here aren't so full. They've kind of got little whiskery bits on them. So here we go. Ewok babies are the perfect balance of adorable and creepy. And I'm out of burnt umber. Just a second. So again, if you've just signed on, just found me, I'm doing a little, I'm working on an altarpiece inspired by the moon of Endor with Ewoks in it. And so I've been studying these in a sketchbook. Actually, not a sketchbook, an old, it's an old scrapbook. And anyway, I'm just doing some studies. And so this is the equivalent of hanging out, watching over my shoulder in my studio. If you have any questions, let me know. I can't see anything going on my phone. It's just me doing all this. And if you were here earlier, you heard my husband come in and say, I don't see it on Instagram. So that's, I'm using some software on my laptop. And I can't do everything. Can't do everything at once. So, and the important thing is that I'm painting because I'm working on a project right now and I need to practice some of these adorable Ewoks. So I love this one's eyes so much. His just expression is just ridiculous. And I like the fact that his fur is a little bit darker, so I'm gonna, but I do not love his nostrils because they, in the reference, it's kind of, there we go, that's better, more shadowy. It's too much contrast, it ends up looking a little skull-like. So, and I'm gonna bring some of this fur back. He has such droopy eyes. Okay. And his fur out here is just really cute too. So I don't want to, I was saying before, I don't want to overwork these guys too much. As soon as you start overworking babies, they like making them look too detailed. They start looking like little old men. We don't want that. Okay. Just gonna add some little bit of highlights to his fur in a few places, mainly just around his a little bit around his hands and a little bit on his tummy and a little bit under his chin because I've gone too dark. And there's a few lighter scruffy bits up here. Just between those darks and lights, needs just to be a bit softened, and we're gonna really add in just a few deliberate highlights. What's with the fruit fly? Come on, fruit fly. So he's just got a couple little stray whiskers here that just finish him off. Got a little highlight above his nose, which is really cute. And he's got a little highlight right above his mouth. A few of the whiskers are just a bit lighter than the rest. And oh, I've gone too far into the shadow again. There we go. And he has a little bit of a highlight on his lip. And a little bit on his little fingers. And his fingers here too. And because those highlights are lighter, let's just add a little tiny bit of it here, and that's better. little bit here. Oops, it's too late. I've lost my other colors too. So I am working on this for a lot longer than I usually do. I think this goes to what I was saying before. I'm feeling a little weary today, so things are taking me a little longer. But that's just the way it is today. Okay, so I'm just wanting to fix, I've lost a little bit of his, the lightness of that highlight wasn't quite right, so I want to just fix it. It's kind of bothering me a little bit. So I've gone too light under his nose. And I just want to bring it back. That's a bit better. Oh, too much. I just want to soften this too. It's just too dark or too bright. All right. Oh, and I need a really dark color. So it's better. Okay, I'm gonna work on this little guy. And the idea is that the more you work through them, they're meant to be easier. There you go. Because somehow I'm supposed to have, the theory is, got my mistakes out of my practice ones. So having painted two already, technically this one should be a little bit easier. But it doesn't always work that way, because they're all a little bit different from each other, so I can't assume it's going to be exactly the same. This guy's kind of cute because he's got a little highlight above his mouth. And his lips actually up here. He's got a very little mouth. He's a really little Ewok. Like, you think they're all the same size, but this guy's eyes are really tiny. And his nose and mouth and everything are much tinier compared to the other ones. So I think he must be a younger one. Put them all together in a little basket. There we go. So because he's little, I'm looking at going over him a bit more carefully now, making his ears a little bit smaller. And I want to pull some of the details back with the dark paint. So I'm just going to quickly get in where his hands are. Just a few little highlights just to finish his hands up, because I've made this hand too big. It should be little. There. And a couple little fingers here. Just wipe that brush off. I'm running out of room to wipe my brush off as I'm working through this. Okay, let's get a nice dark colored fur again. See, he's not as dark all over. And I want to get this ear smaller, so I'm going to bring that in. This is not his fur here. This is just background, so let's darken that. That's a bit better. Hardly even need to see it. There we go, that's better, just a little hint. Let's bring it back in this way. I don't know why I call this cutting in, but that's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm thinking just cut back in with the dark color, bring it in from the outside in and change the shape when it's not quite right. So his little face, there we go. It's got such lovely dark and light fur. So here we go. That's a bit better. So his fur is kind of a bit of a gray or brown color. So let me just get the darks where I want it. Bring it more down here too. I use watercolor brushes when I paint in acrylic because I love the sharps and the angles and the sharp points and the techniques I can get with it. But it's very, very hard on my brushes. I go through a lot of watercolor brushes. So this one was a newish one, but it's as I work, especially on studies like this, where you kind of, that once the paint starts to dry into the brush, it starts to ruin it. So they don't last forever. Okay, so I would like a slightly grayish brownish, like a cooler brown. That's the color I want for his fur. There we go. So I know that this is very blended in with the background, but I like to paint dark to light. I like to work that old painting style. Feels kind of dramatic somehow. Okay, let's do a little highlight where the top of his ear is. And a little bit there at the top of that one. I feel like this highlight's too bright, so I might have to lighten it up afterwards. Let's lighten it up now. Okay, bit of pink where his ear is. It's the light pink, so I'm going to use it as a highlight on the hands too. Fingertips are also, where I said when you paint people, there's warm tones in the ears where the blood kind of flows through, so you have warmer tones on your ears, the tip of your nose, lips, ends of your fingers. Those are all places that, even if it's just a tiny little bit like this, suddenly you feel like it's more alive because blood's flowing through there. And while I've got my brush, it's a nice opportunity to bring it in other places in the picture. To oh, eyelids are also another place that there's pink. While this pink tone is on my brush, it's a good time to bring it in. Now this guy, the reference is absolutely awful for him, so I'm gonna combine some of the other reference to give him a little bit more face, because he is just absolutely terrifying, and I don't like him at all. So here we go. We're gonna ignore the reference a little bit. I'm gonna combine bits from each of them, and I shouldn't be using the pink, but I am, just to kind of pull him out just a little bit, because I'm not, I've got distracted. I should be working on the other one, but I'm just adding a little bit into the sky just to use up the paint on my brush and to make him a little less terrifying. Now, my stomach is rumbling a little bit. There we go. Now, I just want to add a few little highlights into here just to finish him off. My yellow color. This is a much longer painting session than I was planning to do, but when I'm a little tired, it takes me a little bit longer, and that's just what I'm doing. So I'm just adding a few highlights to this guy's little face, just to finish him off. And I don't usually add highlights until the very end because they can look really creepy, just having little glistening sparkles in eyes. They look really, really creepy. Usually I would wait until I've done something like this and added a bit of color to the eye. So it doesn't look quite so creepy. Still looks a little bit creepy though, so I'm gonna fix it. I think probably this should be a bit browner. And that is too brown. Let's wipe that off. Ewoks kind of have creepy eyes. The adults. I always kind of laugh because I love them so much, but then their eyes and their mouths are always a bit weird. So, yeah, they are a little creepy, aren't they? Let's go back to a slightly bigger creepy eye, and I'll add a highlight on the top of it. Just because I was just taking a peek and realized I wanted his face to, his beard, his little beardy chin is too big. Just want to pull it back up a little bit. So remember what I said before about overworking babies? So that's kind of, I don't want to overwork this guy. I just want to knock it back a little bit in places to help him stand out in the right way. But I'm just trying to decide which details he needs to finish him off. And I think just a little bit of, yeah, that's a better color. He needed just a little bit of brown, slightly brown eyes, and I need to soften that light out. That, oh, that's way too big. Sometimes you try and do something and it doesn't work. Oh, that's even worse. There we go. Let's just remove that. Let's soften these eyes up a little bit. Give them a bit more of that glassy Ewok eye look to them, where they a little bit of, there we go. Okay. And let's need to go a bit darker here. Whoops, it's too much paint in my brush. Can't undo that. So what I need to do is bring his whiskers in above and get his eyelid kind of right. Let's get this guy's eyes a little bit more life to them. And there we go. Oops. So what I wanted to do was to soften it up a little bit, but I've ended up losing some of the shape. Oh, that's not good. All right. Okay. Let me wipe that off. What I need to do, did you notice I just left that for a moment? It's because the paint's wet and I had other paint all over my brush. So there's no sense in just launching it with the same brush. What I need to do to fix that, I accidentally went too far and went over my paint, is just clean the brush off and get the dark paint back and bring it back in a little bit. Too much, and that is better. Too much here. Okay, let's get a few highlights on this guy over here, and then we'll be done. Because this guy is off to the side, we don't want to go too far with him. And this is a sign that I'm getting tired. I've launched right in with a very light color, which I normally wouldn't do. I was saying before, you don't start with the highlights because you want to give it some depth and stuff, but because he's the last one, I'm not going to finish him as much. I'm just going to do just a few to try and do just deliberate highlights and not overwork the whole area again. Whoop. Because again, I have to remind myself, these are studies. They're meant to be just a bit of fun, a little bit of practice, and not meant to be completely finished pieces. It's kind of like life drawing with Ewoks, like a limited amount of time to work. If I had given myself a timer, I would have been finished a lot earlier, and it would have forced me to move on and not spend too long in places and overwork things. So, but I did not do that because I do what I want. I'm not needing anymore. I'm not being told you got 15 minutes. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I paint for only 15 minutes, and just to really force myself to not spend too long. But today I am a little tired, and I can paint for as long as I want because it's kind of relaxing and enjoyable. So I'm just going to go some little highlights just around the top edge of his fur, and they need to be a little bit, they're light, but they're not that light, so I want to just I want to kind of capture a bit of his color. My brush has too much paint on it and not sharp enough of an end, and that is too sharp. Ooh, too light. See, this is the risk of going too light on the highlights right off the bat, because then if you want to have an in-between tone, it's a bit difficult to blend the two. So, oh, well, there we go. All right. See if I can get a bit of a in-between tone to help this out. With fur in particular, it's really important to go from dark to light and not be doing what I'm doing and having to bring it back, bring the tones in back afterwards, but that's all right. That's what I've done. I did say I didn't want to overwork this guy too much, so I'm just going to get his fuzzy face going. And let's give him a cute little, just soften his eyes a little bit. Little baby eyelids. So I need to bring the darks back in just to kind of get the shadows right for him. Because I went too crazy with the shadows earlier on, so I'm going to add some more highlights, but I just need to go dark before I can go light again. He is just about done. A little bit of pink around his nose, softer bottom lip. Highlight on the upper lip, top of the nose, and top of his eyelids. Oops, I did it again. I went too far with my paintbrush because I'm getting tired. I'm not being as careful. That's another benefit to spending a little bit of time doing studies, is because concentration starts to wane. So shorter patches of time are better. Oh, my brush is getting a bit loaded with paint here. So I need to come back with the darks just to bring everything together again, because it's the paintbrush is too full of paint and it's starting to I'm not getting a sharp enough point to get this right. So let's get a dark. I'm going to cut back in a little bit just to help him out. I'm going to go into his face too, just starting from the outside just to bring him in. And oh boy, I've gone way longer than I was planning to go with this. But this is just you watching me paint while I'm working on what I'm working on. So if you've just popped on now and are wondering what the heck's going on here, I'm working on Endor inspired upcycled painting, and I need to do some studies, and so you're welcome to watch over my shoulder as I work. And part of that, I thought it'd be kind of fun to paint some baby Ewoks, because I've done some studies of others, and I thought that could be fun. So I'm just finishing putting the last touches on this little guy. He's, as far as my reference goes, he's the creepiest one. I will show you. No, there's no like eyes on him. He's super creepy. So I'm just trying to give him a little bit more to not this much though. He's got too much. A little tiny bit more to him just to make him not so scary. I'm going to bring his whiskers back in a moment. I just wanted to get the darks a little darker and his little mouth a little bit nicer. And I'm going to, again with the darks, a bit darker. And bring the highlights back just a second. Not too bright this time. Let's go gradual. Okay. He just needs a little bit in between here, and this eyelid needs to be much softer. And that one too. Oops. He just needs a couple deliberate highlights in places, and then he'll be all done. And I'm going to make that eye a little bit bigger again with the darks, because I accidentally painted too much out of it. So just going to add a couple highlights around the outside just to finish it off. Give him a bit more of an erratic, fluffy kind of look in a couple places, not everywhere. Again, my brush is too loaded, so there we go. Just want to add a couple top of his head just to bring him out a little bit more. Okay, almost there. Don't get distracted. Okay, let me just darken up that eye again where I've accidentally gone in too close with the white. And I think I'm done. Okay. This particular guy has a lot of, he's just a very light colored one. That's a bit better. Let's warm that up just a tiny bit. Well, I think that that's enough. And just want to, I say that's enough, but you can see my paintbrush is still going, can't you? What I want to do is just soften it a little bit. Where my brush strokes were. Where I've been brushing my brush off the whole time. Just to finish it, because I know I said it's a study. But it's nice to finish it off a little bit. Since so much of the paper was covered, might as well. That last little bit done. Too much blue. Knocking back a little bit of this there just to kind of let your eyes stay in the middle of the picture a bit more. Well, that was a lot longer than I usually go for when I paint studies. If you've made it to the end, if you've been there the whole time, or if you're having lunch, thank you for hanging out with me. If you popped on for 30 seconds and that was all, it was nice having you here too. So anyway, I got a lot done, and I'm going to keep going on my Moon of Endor upcycled painting. We'll share some previews of it. If it didn't work on Instagram, I'm very sorry. I'm going to see if I can upload the full thing there. So anyway, thanks for joining in, and if there's any questions along the way, I will try and see the comment. I haven't been able to see any during here, and I'm using new software, not quite sure how this works. So anyway, if you have a question or comment, please drop it in, drop it to me afterwards, and yeah, I'll be back here on Wednesday working on something new at lunchtime around noon Toronto time. So yeah, thanks very much for joining, and I'm gonna go grab lunch and then get my kids from school.